Well, good day again, my dear women friends, and I am thrilled yet again to bring a very brave woman to our program. I recently met Shagufta Patel here in Dubai. Actually, matter of fact, we met in a Zoom meeting, and she is the editor-in-chief of a most beautiful magazine published here called Aspire. I wonder if it's in Bahrain. She'll let us know, in Saudi Arabia, wherever it is. Take a look at it. It's beautiful. It looks beautiful. It reads beautifully. So Shagufta Patel told me her story a few weeks ago, and I said to her immediately, please, may I interview you, because you have bravery, and you have courage, and you are exactly the example that I want to share with the world of what happens when we get strong and brave and courageous, and when we raise up our voices. My dear Shagufta, it is so lovely to have you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for joining us today and being a part of this wonderful program.
Thank you, Patty. I feel honored to be here with you on this program, and you thinking me, capable enough to be here sharing my story with you and the rest of the women listening to us. Thank you so much.
Well, it's a joy and an honor. And of course, you are capable, because you've told me a little bit about your story. But before we get into your story, I always like to frame this program in my 50 years of coaching and all the programs I've written. Your brave voice is my baby. It's my favorite. I mean, I love the leadership. I love the communication. I love that. But this program, because I'm an old feminist, I was a feminist in the 70s. But really where the program comes from was in 1993, when I had an opportunity as a radio journalist to interview His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And we were talking about many things in the interview. And at one point we got into talking about the environment, because I was living in Vancouver, Canada at the time. And Vancouver is really considered where the modern day environmental project started, because Greenpeace, it sent its first maiden voyage from the harbor of Vancouver. So we were talking about that because we were in Vancouver, and he took the conversation in the direction of, he was worried. It was 1993. We were still talking about the possibility of nuclear war. And he said that he feared that men's love of nuclear arms and war materials, that it would take us to the brink of disaster. And he said it would be the women of the world who would bring us back. And I said, well, how? How can we do that? And he said, you must raise your voices. You must speak. So that was 1993. And I thought, well, that's great. But 1993, I was a pretty young woman, and I didn't have the world reputation. I didn't have my experience. So since 1993, I've been trying to get this gentle little army of women together, because, one thing I've always realized is that, and this is no male bashing. We do not allow any male bashing. I know it's trendy now. This is ridiculous. I love men. I have raised a son. I have no issues against men. However, the arms race, the arms are guns. For men, arms tend to be guns, for not all men, but most men. And for women, arms are what we hold our babies with. Arms are what we hug each other with. That part of the equation is missing. Why? Because women are not speaking up. So that's the whole thing about this program. We do this program because it's a great privilege to have had this audience with the Dalai Lama, and I'm very pleased. I'm sure he doesn't remember me. It's a long time ago. He's been interviewed by millions of people, but it is what pushes us to, pushes me to say, come on, gals, come on. Our silence is deafening. So you don't need to go into the whole detail or anything, but when we spoke a couple of weeks ago, I was so touched by your story. And I think your story of tremendous bravery is inspiring to women, whether they are high up in the corporate world or they are stuck in a marriage that's really hurting them. Share what you will, whatever you feel comfortable. We don't need to know the whole thing, just so that you feel comfortable. Tell us, how did you get from where you were as a young woman to being the editor-in-chief of a magnificent magazine right here in Dubai?
Right, Paddy. First of all, thank you for sharing this. I mean, your interview with the Lama, which happened almost like 29 years back, if you're talking about 1993. And since then, if you've kind of nurtured this idea of yours, this baby, it's really commendable. Congratulations on that. And also bringing to the forefront women like us who share our stories so that other women can get the courage to find their voice too. So thank you so much for that. Talking about me, I was born in the 1970s where, we didn't have the internet. There were no mobile phones yet. Born to a very, very, very humble family, very modest Muslim conservative family. And life for me back then was just homeschool, home college. That's it. We didn't have much of travel because financially also my family wasn't, very well off. Dinners were like twice in a year, my birthday and my brother's birthday. That's all. So that was the kind of life that I had. And also because I was born to my parents after 5 years of their marriage, and my uncle and aunt, we were a joint family, they didn't have kids of their own. And so when I came, I was like really protected. I wouldn't say pampered, but yes, really protected. And so I grew up to be a very timid, very shy, very naive, young girl, no exposure to the world whatsoever. And got married at the young age of 19. I was happy though, because life for me back then was, okay, you get married, you take care, you have a home, you have a loving husband, you have kids, and you take care of your kids. That's what the ladies in my society did, right? They were not working women. They were women at home, holding the fort at home, raising kids. And I grew up with the same idea that, okay, life for me would be that. And I was happy. I was happy that I was getting married, and I had these dreams that every young girl has of having a home and children, and just having a loving family. That's it. And got married when I was still in college. I finished my graduation after my first baby was born, my first daughter, and she came when I was 20. So I've been a young mother. I have 2 kids, and my second one was born when I was 24. Unfortunately, though, the marriage was not what I would or anybody would actually want. It was quite toxic. There was a lot of gaslighting, which I remember, if I look back, I think there was a lot of gaslighting that was happening there. There was emotional abuse. There was a lot of physical abuse as well. And I stayed married for 17 years. Just with the hope and the thought that things would get better. And you know how it is, right? Especially in
That's
our
what
society.
women do. Yep.
Exactly. So we're always told, all right, just hang on a little bit more. Probably things will, just a little bit more and things will change. All right, you have one now, have a second baby. Probably then things would, take a turn. Then after certain years, then you start thinking, oh, now you have the kids and you've got to give them a stable home. So might as well give it another chance. Yeah. And then a few more years later, oh, you're already so old, the kids have grown up. Now, where is the chance for you to, take any drastic steps or any drastic decisions? And so that went on for 17 years. And each year brought in more misery to me, where I was losing myself. Yeah. And, I was in the marriage for the sake of the kids. But then I saw that it wasn't doing them any better at all. It was getting worse for them as well. I could clearly see the effects of what was happening with the kids as well, as a result of me being in that situation. And also they not being, not getting the father's love and understanding the way it is supposed to be. And that was the turning point for me in 2010, when I decided enough is enough. And I decided to, separate and take a divorce. And I was 38 then, with no work experience whatsoever, not having worked before, no bank balance, because you know how it is, especially in our Indian families. Women are given, a monthly amount just to take care of the household. It was never enough. There were no savings from there. There was no bank balance. There was no work experience. There was nothing. And knowing, my husband, my ex-husband, I also knew that there was zero chance of any maintenance or any alimony coming from there. And so again, everybody was like, you shouldn't be doing this. Think again, you're 38. It's not the time for you to start all over again. How are you going to survive? How are you going to even get a job? Because, by then we had an entire new young workforce that had entered the corporate workspace. And it was daunting, no doubt. It was very scary, no doubt. I had no clue what I would do. And then again, it was like, what could be worse than what I'm already facing? It's anyways like a slow death every day.
Yes.
And nothing can be worse than that.
Your story, as difficult as it is, there are so many women stuck in this position. And, you stay together for the children and you try your best. It's just something about women. I think it's because we're just nurturers and, we want our family. But then you realize, what example am I setting for my daughter? How is my son seeing women, right? These are things that I think that we need to start thinking about. A tremendous amount of courage. I mean, you really just, they say it's a leap of faith, but I think it's a leap with faith. It might be blind faith, but there's something, you see, it's that seed of bravery that I believe is in every woman. We don't often bring it out. We don't really have an opportunity. We grow it, but we never have the opportunity to see how that bravery is really affecting us. So I think that's an amazing story. I mean, I hate the story, but I love the story because you can help so many women who will watch this, who don't want to admit because of the social pressure, the family pressure. And you know what? It's not just in the Indian culture. This is everywhere. This is what we do. And in the world today, we have been co-opted. I think women have been subjugated for so long that we're not really that much anymore in our yin energy, our feminine energy of cooperation, of intuition, because the world has kind of pushed us over here into this world of competition. And so we don't really have time to notice what happened when you left. This is an amazing journey. So you're what, 38? I can't imagine. No work experience, no money, and deciding, okay, I'm going for it. What happened? Because here you are today, so strong and beautiful.
So, of course, I think the only thing that I had was a family that finally, kind of supported me on my decision. I had a place to go back to. It wasn't easy there, of course, because by then my brother was married. He had his family of his own. We lived in a very small home where there was no extra room for 3 more people coming in. So it was challenging, no doubt. But then again, like you said, Patty, it was a leap of faith and the belief that in myself, that no matter what, I'm going to make this happen. And from there on, I started not knowing what to do. But the one thing that actually made me take this step before I move on was that I cannot serve from an empty bowl.
Yes.
This was that one line that literally kind of kept playing on in my mind again and again and again. And of course, we know it's a metaphor where the bowl is you. And I had reached a point in my life where I was so empty. I was feeling so empty inside. There was nothing left there. And even though I wanted to be a good mother, even though I wanted to do things for my family, be a good wife, be a good sister, be a good friend, be a good human, or give back to the society, I could do none of it because I was so empty right here. And so this is that one line that kept playing on in my mind, that you cannot serve from an empty bowl. And here the bowl is you, and I have to take care of myself. And I even heard things like, you're being selfish. You're not thinking about the kids, right? And my only thing was like, am I really being selfish here? Is it, taking care of yourself, is it being selfish? And I said, no, it's not. Because unless I start and I take care of myself first, I will not be able to show up and be the mother that my kids want at that time, or whenever, right? So this one sentence actually gave me the courage to move forward. No matter with whatever that was going on, the scare, it was really scary at that point in time.
I'm
But then
sure.
yeah, it was. So after I moved out, and for a few months, of course, I could do nothing. I was dealing with the divorce case and with the 100 rumors that were coming to me. I got to know things about me that even I didn't know. How it happens. People talk and they say all sorts of things, and you've got to just kind of accept it and let it pass through you. That also requires a kind of steely resolve. My mother used to get very upset with all the things she used to hear, and she used to come and tell me, and I used to say, okay, just listen, and um, just don't let it bother you in any way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you've got to make yourself so strong that, like put a wall right in front of you so that everything else just bounces back and you don't have to let it get into you, right? And that's the only way you can survive all of this. And it'll pass. It'll pass. People will get other things to do and talk about. You're not going to be their center of their universe forever. For that,
Go ahead, sorry.
yeah. Yeah, you're saying something. Yeah.
Well, I love that awareness that you have, that you were an empty bowl. That's a beautiful, beautiful metaphor. And you're right, you can't serve, you can't really function. It's not selfish, although the world always wants to tell us as women that when we put ourselves first, that we're being selfish. But when you're on the airplane, they tell you if the oxygen mask comes down, put it on you first so you can take care of your children. So we need to, it's women like you telling your story that reminds us that we have the God-given right and responsibility to take care of ourselves, because we cannot serve from an empty bowl. Wow. And culture, I understand culture. When I studied sociology, I learned culture is a double-edged sword. It's beautiful. It helps define us. It becomes a big part of who we are. But the other side of that is this and the expectations, and how people, when you move away from the culture or what appears to be doing something that the culture doesn't sanction, whoosh, they can come in and really cause more angst, more anxiety. But you know what? It's just like the diamond or the pearl, right? You got to have that friction. You got to have that opposition to grow and to become who you are. A lot of people watching this, well, everybody will relate to your story. But I really want us today to appeal to the women who don't realize that they have the power, they have the bravery, they have the courage, because if you can do it, they can do it. How did you get from there to being the editor-in-chief? I got to tell you, I've told you this before, and I'm not flattering you. That magazine is beautiful. Not only does it look beautiful, it reads so well. And I'm listening to your story, and you're the editor-in-chief of this magazine. And I'm thinking, wow, I mean, that's a quantum leap from where you were. Tell us about that journey, because boy, I think, again, that required a lot of bravery and also to find your voice.
Yes, it did. So starting from when I came back, Paddy, a few months, of course, dealing with the divorce, I had to be the anchor for my kids. My daughter was still 16. She could understand. My son was only 12. So he was still at a stage where he couldn't really figure out what was happening. He got a little aggressive. So I had to be the emotional anchor and support for them. And then again, not wanting to waste time, or you're entering the workforce, and I realized I had nothing to show on my resume. I didn't even know what I was good at, or where should I start applying for a job, because I had no idea what I would be good at. And so I started doing a distant course in MBA, executive MBA program in marketing. My auntie helped me with the financials to at least enroll for that course. God bless her. And yes. And I started studying, at least started going out, interacting. So that got my mind off. I started interacting with people, with people who were younger my age, started updating myself, went for a computer class on the side to get my computer skills up. And that's how it all started. And after a year, I had to even send my son back to his father because I couldn't manage his education, and the father was even not even ready to pay for his fees. So that was a decision and a choice I had to make, which was even, I think, even tougher than the divorce itself.
Yes.
Nevertheless, I made the choice. I made the decision of sending him back. And after he went, then I started looking for a job, and I got one in a finance company at JM Financial Services, where the job required me, and I was good at communication. The only thing that I figured out that I was good at was in communication. I was very fond of reading books, and my English was, in a way, quite okay. So communication was the strong point. And I got a job that had me to, kind of speak to the franchisees that they had pan India, and so it was the customer support for the in-house franchisees. I took that up, and within 3 months, the office moved to a very far off place, and I was like traveling more than 4 hours a day, studying, working, coming back home, looking in the family. It was getting tough. And so I started looking out for other opportunities. And I was very lucky to find a job in this magazine called Femina, which was part of the Times Group, Times of India, worldwide media. And it was very close to home, extremely close to home. So that worked well. And I worked with the edit team. And luckily for me, this position did not require any background in mass media communications or journalism. It was just handling the entire production process of the magazine. And so I worked with the magazine for 3 years. That's how I got to know, the entire production line and how things take place. And while on the job, I was always this curious girl, woman, wanting to know, wanting to do things, proactive. So I also did 1 or 2 articles for the magazine just to see and just to get a hang of it. It got approved. It was printed and published. That gave me a high. And while at Femina, I finished my MBA in marketing. And I did well. I kind of topped my batch. But then it was like, no, this is not something that excites me. This is not something that I would like to, again, pursue further. And again, it was the whole thing, oh my God, you've just done 2.5 years of extreme MB studies. You've worked so hard and now you don't want to do that. And by that time, Patty, I had, started getting more aware, more sure of myself. And I knew that this is something that I didn't want to do.
Yeah.
And so the search again, now what is it? And I also knew that the job, as secure and as fun as it was, this wasn't something that I wanted to do for the rest of my life either.
I love that, because sometimes, when we set off on something and then we realize, oh, this isn't what I want to do. And so oftentimes well, what's the matter with me? Why can't I? Blah, blah. And we take it against ourselves. But, I love the work of Mary Morrissey. She's one of my teachers, and I absolutely love her. She is a colleague of our dear late Bob Proctor. And Mary taught me something that's really important, that our longing and our discontent, we need to embrace that. We need not to judge it, because that is the foundation of building a dream. And we need to embrace it because it's actually an expression of our higher self asking us to please let me out of this cage. There's more to me than what you're doing right now. Open this up. And so longing and discontent, dissatisfaction. I was working with a client a while ago, and she was very hard on herself because she got a great job, but she doesn't really like it. She said, I don't feel satisfied. I said, good. She's like, what do you mean, good? I said, this is fabulous, because this is something inside. This is where that seed of bravery is trying to grow. That's saying, listen, girl, you are born for greater things than working for this guy over here who's never going to really appreciate what you do because he's inadequate and you're not. This is your longing and discontent. This is your higher self. You could say this is your voice of God inside you saying, I created you for more than this. Not that this is bad, but there's more. And the other thing that comes to my mind as I hear you, and I've never really thought of it this way before, but your story and your journey is telling me that bravery is our superpower. It is the thing that we have that we need to keep developing and using so that we are not settling. It's very easy for women to settle. We've been socialized into it. We've got fear about what do we do if we don't accept what's put there in front of us. And I mean, I'm not one for all this Wonder Woman stuff. I don't like that kind of stuff. But as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking, I think bravery is our superpower. It's what we bring to the world. I mean, we have to be brave to raise our children. We have to be brave to have our children. If we weren't brave, there would be no people on the planet, because after one, you'd go, I'm not doing that again. So tell me, just to speak to our women audience about your magazine and that final step in that journey in that way, once you listen to your longing and your discontent.
Yeah, so then it wasn't something that happened immediately.
Mhm.
After finishing marketing, and I felt that this is not for me, and then I was on the search again, what is it that I need to do? I did image management. When I finished image management, that's where I realized, and they taught us 3 elements, which was appearance, body language, behaviors, and communication. And that's where I realized, Patty, that appearance and communication can still be learned, but what people struggle with the most are belief systems. And I was struggling with so many of them at that point in time.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's the path that I then went on, where I did NLP, I did hypnotherapy, I did M-braining, and I'm certified in all of these. And the thought of the magazine actually never really came. I happened to come to Dubai. I got an opportunity after that, and I came to Dubai to kind of manage a friend's office. He had to shut down and go back, and I stayed on, and I got another job here. And I was on that job for 4 years when a friend of mine over here who also came to Dubai, and he's been into publishing for a very long time. He had the idea of a magazine and he wanted to start one. And so he asked me whether I would join hands with him to start the magazine. And I said, yes, because I knew I had that in me, where I could take care of the editorial. For a magazine, of course, there are 2 major things. One is the editorial, and one is the design and the production of it. And it was his idea to begin with. He just proposed it to me. Would you be willing to join hands with me on this? I said, yes, let's do it. I quit my job. And again, it was, a leap of faith, an act of bravery, because living in a place like Dubai, where the living costs are so high, and I was using a lot of my salary, whatever I was drawing, into my own self-development all this while. So again, when it came to savings, it was almost like nothing. A little bit of it, which I kind of invested into, the licensing and starting of the magazine and stuff like that. And so again, it was another leap of faith. And that's how Aspire started. That's the story behind it.
You talk about even at 38 and to reinvent yourself, and which a lot of women struggle with. I'm working with a young woman right now who's 27, and she has a big goal and a big dream, but as she develops it more, she realizes this isn't really it. I want more. And I said, well, why is that a problem? She said, because I'm 27 and I have to reinvent myself. I said, girl, I am 69 and I just moved to Dubai. And you should never stop reinventing yourself. It's growth. It's a beautiful world we live in. I was so lucky to have a mom who taught me when I was young, because she was a single mom, not well educated. My father was a violent man. She learned from what we call the school of hard knocks, difficult times. And I remember when I wanted to travel, and I was like, but I can't go alone. I wanted to go to Europe. She said, what do you mean you can't go alone? I was 21. What do you mean you can't go alone? She said, it's your world too, and you have every right to go out there and explore it and to find your place in the world. Now, how does a woman who has no education and just comes from a very sad upbringing find that bravery? My mom was the original brave voice, if you ask me. So this is where it comes from. And I think it's just so wonderful that you have this courage to reinvent yourself. And this is one thing why I wanted you to share your story, because when I hear a 27-year-old woman or a 35-year-old woman say, yeah, but, and that means I got to start all over again. Start all over again. It's the next development of who you are. We are born with greatness in us. And we do not accomplish our greatness in our 20s or our 30s. I mean, I'm an old gal now, and I look back, and I'm going to tell you, at 69, I still think the best is yet to come. And I've had a beautiful life. This is the 11th country that I've lived in. I have clients from 110 countries. I have a beautiful life. I'm like this armchair anthropologist. I sit at my desk and I travel the world. And plus, physically, I travel the world as well. But it's never too late to start again. We are never too old. This is our longing, and our discontent is our higher self saying, come on, girl, there's more to you than this. So that's what I love about your story. How can women, particularly in the Middle East for right now, how can they get your magazine? Where is it available? And when I send off this interview, I will have all your contact information and how they can get the magazine. I found it, of course, in a beautiful bookstore here in Dubai. I have this favorite place now where I like to go. And when I get in there, my heart beats really quickly because it's all those books, and there's so many English books, and I'm spending all my money in the bookstore. But I found your magazine there. Where in the Middle East is it available, like in Bahrain and Saudi Arabia, or can they order it? Can they see it online? How can they? Because it's beautiful.
Yes. First, thank you for the appreciation. It really means a lot, because it is a labor of love, no doubt.
Yes, yes.
Um, it's available here in the UAE in the supermarkets, like the bookstore that you mentioned, and some of the major supermarkets across UAE. But for people who are in the GCC, like Bahrain and Kuwait and Saudi, they can access it online. So we have it in the web format, and we also have a digital magazine, which is free to access for everyone. But if they would like a physical copy, then they need to write in to me, and we can always courier it to them. They can ask for a subscription, and then we can send it to them on a monthly basis. If they just want to read it online, the digital copy is open for everyone to go and have a look at.
Well, I'm living in a very little flat until I get all of my legal documents, like banking, and then I'm going to move into a bigger flat. And I have a crowded little apartment, but on the table behind me, there is the magazine. I just think I know it's a labor of love. Okay, dear women, I will send this information, how you can find this magazine online. And as Shagufta said, if you want to order it, you certainly can. Just before we go, because I know you're having breakfast with your three friends, and with your friends, rather, and I really appreciate you taking this time. It means a lot to me. What are 3 things that you want to leave our women with today?
So the 3 things, one is obviously, self-love is so important. It's it all starts from there.
Yeah.
It all really starts from there. Don't think it's selfish. It's about, as long as you're not harming anybody in the process, thinking about you is not at all selfish. You need to take care of yourself. You need to love yourself first if you want to show up in a better way for your family. So that's definitely point number 1. Point number 2 is listen to that inner voice. I think what has guided me in these last 10 years, and I've been doing things which I've never even dreamt of before, and it's just following that thing that like you said, the discontentment which is your inner self telling you, hey, you're ready for more now. Yeah, so just listen to that inner voice that speaks to you. It always does. Be aware, listen to it, see what it's telling you. Don't be scared of taking risks, because if there is a voice that's talking to you, it knows that there is a rainbow at the end of it.
Yes.
It's going to be challenging, definitely, yes, because a change is never easy, but you're ready for it. Know that. Yeah. Otherwise, you would never get that desire to move to a next point. Yeah, don't give up. So it's about listening to the inner voice. No matter what challenges you have, just being very consistent, very on it, persevere, be resilient, you will get there. And the last point, never give up working on yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're always a work in progress. And what I think people, what they don't do is invest in themselves.
That's very true.
Yes.
That's very
So
true.
the investing in yourself is very important. And that is also self-love, isn't it, Patty?
Yes, it is. It is.
I don't believe I would have ever got this far if I had not invested in myself. So all these 10 years that I've been doing, I have been doing a lot of work on myself. And that has what me, be able to come so far.
Yeah.
Because every updated version of you or anything new that you're doing will require a different version of you. And you have to work on yourself. You've got to polish yourself that little more to be ready for that next level. So people desire to go here. They want to go from here to here, but they're not willing to work on themselves. And that's where they get stuck here. So
Yeah.
be willing to invest in yourself and be willing to work on yourself. That's the only thing that's going to take you to the next level and higher and higher.
Now, this is just absolutely amazing because you have no idea that this course comes from a program that I have been running for years, a private coaching program called Invest in Yourself. And it's primarily for women. And it is, in fact, to begin the process, the journey of self-love, the journey back to self, because sometimes we get out of our hearts, right? And it's about, we're taking care of so much. We have to put ourselves back in our hearts. And so and it also comes, this program, from that listening to the inner voice, because the inner voice becomes the voice. There's two parts to this program. It's listening to that authentic, that brave voice that you can do it, girl, you can do it. And to vocalize that and bring that to the world. And one thing I really want our women to think about when we meet opposition, when we try to go out and do these things, and it's really hard. Listen, it's called the law of opposites. I was taught this many years ago by an old native Hopi Indian chief when I was in Canada. It was actually in the United States, but back in the days when I lived in Canada. And he told me that when you have that opposition, you must understand that there will be an equal and opposite result. The greater the opposition, the greater the potential, the greater the results. Face that opposition, embrace it, and just know that what's on the other side of that is equal and opposite reaction in positivity. And never give up. You're absolutely right. This is exactly where your brave voice, I've been doing Invest in Yourself for the last 15 years, and it wasn't quite enough. It grew. It just grew because, as you do this work, more and more stuff, you're always growing. I want to thank you, and I'm really appreciate taking you from your gal pals this morning. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. Your contribution to this program today has been absolutely immense. You have a story that many women around the world know and will feel. Or if we don't have that experience, we know we have a girlfriend or a mother or an aunt or somebody we know has been through it. And you are a beacon. You are like a lighthouse to show people there's a way out. I can't thank you enough. And on behalf of the beautiful women who will watch this, from their heart and my heart, we say thank you so much. I will send you a copy of this. And if you wouldn't mind, just make sure that I have all of the ways in which women can get in touch with you about your magazine, anything that you do that you might want to share, because I am a cooperative woman. I'm not a competitive woman. I don't believe in competition. You bring gifts to the world that many of the women watching this can use and enjoy. So please don't hesitate to send me details on how they can get in touch with you. Let's promote each other. Bob Proctor always said, amateurs compete, professionals create. Let's create a better world. Let's bring up our voices. Let's find our bravery. And let's do it not just for today, but for the children not yet born. Let's make a world for them of parity, of equality, where we're all free to speak, where we're all allowed to love ourselves without criticism. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Have a wonderful day and get back to your gals. And I just wish you the best and thank you very much. Women, find her magazine, go online. I'll send you all the details. The International Women's Day magazine is going to come up. Last year's is just gorgeous. The cover is just gorgeous. I love it. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording now. And I just want to say again, thank you.